Hey guys, welcome back to my channel AG Motion Designs, and in today's video we are going to create this Logitech logo reveal animation inside of After Effects without using any third-party plugin but with the help of Adobe Photoshop and Adobe After Effects. And if you want to learn more about logo animation and other stuff in depth, then don't forget to check out my logo animation course on Udemy. Link is available in the description. And if you are new to this channel, then please consider to subscribe this channel and also hit the bell icon to get more updates. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. Okay, so first of all, here we are in Adobe Photoshop. Now I have this logo of Logitech. You can choose whatever logo you want, but specifically for this animation, we need to choose logo which are only in one color, like this is in black color. So you can choose either black or white, like that. Now we need each and every one on separate layer. So I'll select my rectangle selection tool and I'll select this L first. I'll hit Ctrl X. I'll create a new layer and I'll press Ctrl Shift V to paste in place, and I'll hide this, and same procedure I'll follow for all of them. Create new layer and hit Ctrl X, create new layer, press Ctrl Shift V to paste in place, and follow this procedure for all the remaining alphabets like this. Okay, so as you guys can see, each and every alphabet is properly on separated layer. So I'll save this Photoshop file. Then I'll go to the Adobe After Effects. I'll create a new composition. Width is 1920, height is 180. I'll call it as main animation, and frame rate is 30. Duration, let's choose 30 seconds long, and background color is white color, and simply hit OK. Then go to choose grid and guide option, simply hit on title selection, then press Ctrl I to import our PSD file. I have this PSD file over here which we have created. This one I have saved this, and then I'll select this PSD file. Instead of import as footage, I'm going to choose composition, written layers and sizes, and simply hit import and hit OK. Now you have this logo over here. So comp over here, simply double click, select all of these layers, hit Ctrl C, go to the main animation and hit Ctrl V, then right click new and create one null object. Select all of these layers and make it a parent with this null object. So with the help of this null object, we can adjust the scale of this logo, which is now out of the composition. So I'll select this null object, I'll press S to scale option, and I'll scale it like this. And when I am going to achieve the appropriate size, I'll delete this null object. Now select all of them and try to adjust them properly at the center. Then press P for position, and by holding shift I'm going to click on each and every position like this. Right click and choose separate dimension and create one keyframe at X and one keyframe at Y. Then go to around 1 second, again create one keyframe at X and one keyframe at Y. Then go 1.10 frames, we will create only one keyframe at X and one keyframe at Y over here. Now in middle of that, at this point, or go somewhere around start, let's select all of them and make sure to choose align tab, align it horizontally and then align it vertically. Then go in middle of it, change the Y position somewhere around over here, and in middle of that, which means somewhere around over here, increase the Y position somewhere around over here. Now I'll go to the search option and I'll type Y only, so it will show me only Y position keyframe. Select all of them and hit F9. Go to the graph editor, right click and make sure to choose edit speed graph. Zoom in a little bit, let's go to the start. Select this, by holding shift I'll move one handle over here and I'll move one handle over here. Select this, move one handle over here, select this, and let's move one handle over here. So if you see, we will get something like this. Then again select this, move one handle over here and this handle over here, this one, move this one over here and this one over here. Okay, try to adjust it like this, just like a simple bouncing animation. Then I think this animation is quite slow, so what we can do, simply select all of them, and instead of that, first of all we need to hit U over here, Then go to the start, select all of them and press S for scaling option. Initially create one keyframe, go few frame forward, create another keyframe, go to the start and let's make this 0 like this. Select all those scaling keyframes and hit F9. Go to the graph editor, select this graph. By holding shift I'll move this handle over here like this, and you can move this to 1 second also, it's totally up to you. And let's do one thing, we will remove that easing out, so I'll select all of them and I'll hit F9 again. Okay, so we are gonna get something like this. Then go to the start, press R for rotation, create one keyframe, hit U, go around over 1 second and let's make this one complete rotation. So we will get something like this. Okay, and let's select all of these keyframes now, and by holding Alt I'm going to reduce the duration up to 1 second. So if you see this now, all is happening at one at a time. Then we will hit page down button one time. I'll select this, move this over here, move this over here, move this over here, like this. Okay, so if you see now, we are getting something like this. Okay, so this is our reveal animation. So I'll select all of these layers and I'll press Ctrl Shift C and I'll call it as reveal animation and hit OK, and we will hide this. Now we will focus on our shape animations. So for that I'm going to bring my rectangle tool and I'm going to first of all deselect this layer, and then by holding shift I'll create one rectangle. Now over here I don't want any stroke, so I'll delete the stroke and I'm going to choose black color and simply hit OK. Select this, press Ctrl Alt Home to align that anchor point to the center. Go to the align tab, align it horizontally and then align it vertically like this. Okay, then select this layer again, hit Ctrl D, press S and let's decrease the scale, and we are going to choose white color like this, and stroke I'm going to choose black color and I'm going to choose 10 pixels maybe for the stroke width, and I'll try to adjust this properly at the edge of this rectangle and let's make this fit. Okay, now select this shape layer and let's change the stroke width to 20 pixels. Now select this, press Ctrl Alt Home to align their respective anchor points at the center. Okay, just like this. Now what we are going to do over here, I'm going to select this over here. Let's hit U, right click, new and create one null object and bring this null object at the corner of this one like this. Okay, and we will name these layers now. So let's select this, hit enter and let's call it as big. Select this one, hit enter and let's call it as small, and this is just a null object. So now I'm going to select this big one and I'll make it a parent with this null. Select the small and we are going to make it a parent with this big. Okay, so simple calculations. So now let's do one thing, select the small and we are not going to make it a parent anyone, at least for now. Now select this big one over here, press S for scaling option, create one keyframe at the start, go somewhere around 1 second, create another keyframe, go to the start and let's make this value 0. Select those keyframes, hit F9, simply go to the graph, select this graph, by holding shift move this handle over here and move this handle over here. So if you see, we will get this kind of animation. Go to the start, press R for rotation, create one keyframe, hit U, go over here, make one, let's say I think instead of 1 let's make this 180. Select those rotation keyframes and hit F9. Go to the graph editor, select this graph. By holding shift I'll move this value over here, so we'll get this kind of rotation like this. Now at this point I want this small thing should be come from here. So first of all I'll select this, I'll choose my pen behind tool and by holding control I'll snap this anchor point at this point. Now select this small and let's move this over here, press P for position, create one keyframe. Okay, then go somewhere around maybe 2 seconds and let's create another keyframe, and initially it should be at the top. Select those keyframes and hit F9. Go to the graph editor, select this graph, by holding shift move one handle over here and one handle over here, so it will look like it's coming from the top. let's move this thing over here. So if you see this now, we will get something like this. Now after that, at this point I'm going to select this small over here and I'll make it a parent with this big one. Okay, so if you see, we will first get this, then this, and make sure to choose this and current time indicator at the last frame. And at this point I'm going to select this null object. I'll press R for rotation. Let's create one keyframe, go few frame forward, let's rotate it like this. Let's say somewhere around over here, then go somewhere around over here. Let's move this like this and go few frame forward, and let's make this 0. So if you see now, we will get something like this. Now select those keyframes and hit F9. Go to the graph editor, select this graph. By holding shift, move one handle over here, select this and move one handle over here, move this handle over here, select this and move this handle over here, like this. Now select those keyframes by holding Alt. I'll move them up to 2.20 frames. So if you see this now, first I'll get this and we will get this. Let's move this up to 3 seconds, like this. Okay, now this looks quite very big, so I'm going to select this null object because all of them are parent with this null object now. So I'll select this null object, I'll press S and I'll decrease the size of this. Then let's press P for position and try to adjust them properly at the center, like this. Okay, so if you see this now, first I'll get this and then this. Now select this object, hit U, go to the start, and let's bring this position a little bit upward, like this. So we'll get something like this. Now at this point I'll select this box over here. I'll press R for rotation. Let's create one keyframe and hit U. Go at this part, let's select this box and let's rotate it like this. Go at this point and let's rotate it like this. Now select those rotations and hit F9 to easily use those keyframes, and let's move them a little bit over here, like that. So as you guys can see, we are getting this kind of secondary action for this box, like this. Now at this point it should go upward and then come downward. So at this point I'll select this object over here. I'll press Ctrl Shift D to split this layer. I'll select this parenting and I'm going to choose none. Then I'll hit U and I'm going to delete all the keyframes for this one. Then select this, press P for position, create one key for, first of all select this position, right click and choose separate dimensions, like this. Also select this now and press Ctrl Alt Home to align the respective anchor point at the center. Create one keyframe at X and one keyframe at Y and go somewhere around 4 seconds. At this point let's go to the align tab, align it horizontally properly, like this, and go to the start, press R for rotation, create one keyframe, hit U, go somewhere around over here. Let's make this rotation -1 and over here it should be 0. So we will get this kind of rotation. Now after that, I'll at this point in middle of that, I'll change the Y position somewhere around over here. Now select those Y position keyframes and hit F9. Go to the graph editor, select this graph, hold shift, move this handle over here, this handle over here, select this, move this handle over here, select this and move this handle over here, like this. So if you see this animation now, we will get something like this, and at this point it should come downward like this. Okay, and if you want, you can go to the graph editor, you can select this last angle and you can keep it a little bit closer, so it will come a little bit faster. Then go somewhere around at this point. I'll select this big one over here and I'll press Ctrl Shift D to split this layer also and hit U, and we will delete those keyframes. Then press Y for pen behind tool, and by holding Ctrl I'll snap this at the bottom. Press S and unlink the scale, create one keyframe, go one frame forward, and let's bring this downwards like this. Okay, so if you see this animation from the start now, let's make this fit. We will get first this, and then this. Okay, and now we need to create some secondary animation. So let's go to the ellipse tool, and we are going to delete this fill. We don't need that. Now as you guys know that this curve is happening at this point. Okay, which means rotation and stuff. So let's see this null object which is rotating this entire animation. So hit U. As you guys can see, from this to this rotation is happening. So let's do one thing. I'm going to select ellipse, and let's choose stroke over width 5 pixels, and by holding shift I'm going to create one ellipse. Press Ctrl Alt O, go to the align tab, align it horizontally and then align it vertically like this. Select this shape layer, and let's move this over here. Go to the add menu and choose trim path. Go to the trim path, and let's make this 50. Okay, select this, press R for rotation, and then make it 90 like this. Then now again go to the trim path over here, contains trim path, create one keyframe at start and one keyframe at end, and initially let's make this value 0. Okay, and go somewhere around over here. Let's make this value 50 and this value also 50, and select those start keyframes, and we will move them a little bit forward. So if you see, we will get something like this. Okay, I'm going to select those keyframe and I'll hit F9. So if you see, we will get something like this. Okay, if you want, then you can increase the scale of it, and you can change the duration to 2 pixels. I mean, not duration but pixels to 2 pixels. So we'll get something like this. Now select this, hit Ctrl D, press S, and decrease the scale, and try to move this a little bit forward. So we'll get two stuffs. And now again I'm going to, let's say, select both of these layers, and I'll hit Ctrl D, and I'll bring them at the top, and press S for scaling option, or instead of that hit U, right click and hit create one null object. Select this uppermost layers and make it apparent with this null, and press S, unlink this, and let's make this -100. Okay, now select these two layers and move them over here. Yeah, okay, then again select this pen tool. From here to here we will create one line, and we will add trim path to it. Go to the trim path, let's make this end value and start value 0 and 0. Go to around 1 second, let's make this 100. Select this start, and let's move this from here to here. Select those keyframes and hit F9. So we'll get something like this. Go to the graph editor, select this graph, let's move this from here to here. Okay, and let's select those keyframes and let's move them over here, so our animation will get a little bit longer, and this things start to fall from here. So I'll select this and I'll move this over here like this. Hit Ctrl D, and let's try to move this one over here and try to adjust it before like this, and select this, press Ctrl Shift C, and let's call it as lines. Hit Ctrl D, press S, unlink this, and let's make this -100 on y-axis at this point. And I'm going to change the duration over here. Let's make this 100 again. I think we need. Okay, and we will rotate it simply. Let's make it 180 degree. Okay, so it should start from this point. So first we'll get this, then we'll get this. Now our final stuff, we need to change the way it's gonna look. So at this point I want this reveal thing should start to appear, so I'll bring this thing at the top and I'll move this over here. at this point. So I'll select this and I'll move this over here, and over here at this point press Ctrl Y to create one solid background, and let's move this over here. Okay, now press Ctrl Y to create one solid background, and let's bring this at the bottom like this. Now right click new and create one adjustment layer, and over here we have to play around with the tint effect, so double click to apply, and let's swap this color initially. So first we will get this, and then at this point I'll select this adjustment layer and I'll press Ctrl Shift D to split this layer, and I'll delete this. So if you see, I'll get this. Then at this point I'll select this adjustment layer, I'll hit Ctrl D again, and I'll move this over here, and then when this going to touch this, I'll trim this up to this point. Okay, and instead of this should start from here, I would recommend to use this from here. So I'll hold Alt and open bracket to trim this up to this. So if you see this now, first we'll get this, and then this. And then again you can hit Ctrl D and you can move this over here at somewhere around at this point. Okay, over here. Okay, and now what you can do over here is you can play around with the position. So you can select this adjustment layer over here. Let's say you can select this, press P, create one keyframe, and you can create another keyframe. You can go to the start and you can make it like it's coming from the over here like this. Okay, so select those position keyframes and hit F9. It will look like this. You can select those keyframes, you can go to the graph editor, select this, move this over here, select those position keyframe and hit Ctrl C. At this point I'll hit Ctrl V, and again at this point I'll hit Ctrl V like this. Okay, and select all of this adjustment layer and enable the motion blur. Like this. Now I'm going to select all of them and I'll press Ctrl Shift C, or instead of that doing that, I'm going to select only the layers, not the adjustment layers, and I'll press Ctrl Shift C and I'll call it as animation and hit OK like this. Also press Ctrl Y at the background, so you can select create one solid. And now select this animation, press S, let's make this 120 initially, create one keyframe, press R for rotation and let's rotate it a little bit, create one keyframe and hit U. So if you see now, you get something like this, and let's make this 0 and let's make this 100. So along with this animation you will get this kind of scaling animation also with this kind of stuff. So this is how you can play around with these shapes and adjustment layers to create this kind of logo revealing animations.